I'll do this video on some really good Guppy books and other Guppy books that are available. And there are quite a few, actually. You can spend quite a bit of money on books as well as fish. And you don't have to do order changes for the books, so that's good. The thing with the Guppy books is there's quite a few that are kind of for beginner level, and there's other ones that are for more advanced. This one would be for a little bit of both, mainly advanced though. It's an excellent book. Came out in 1995, long out of print from Tropical Fish Hobbyist, and it's by Stan Shubin. So I actually have a couple copies of it, and this one will have some pictures of fish that you won't think are too great looking, but once you go through the book, you'll see some of the stuff that Stan Shubin was creating. He pretty much was the more or less the father of the IFGA, I would almost say, and really did an amazing job for the hobby. There's quite a few guys that have done amazing work in the hobby, and he was one of the best. And you can see some of the chapters. There's some pictures of the fish. That's not the fish, that's Stan. And these were a full green. Really not a green Moscow, but a full green that he was raising. They were pretty expensive. He got a lot of money for those near the end. Like I remember $150 a trio or more. And he really raised some beautiful fish. Now if you're interested in how to set up your tanks and your fish room, it's got a lot of good chapters on that. I put a place mark in this one if you want to learn about the IFGA judging. He went over the point system and what points, what you accumulate the points for. That's my back of my hand, and it's good stuff. If you can find the book, it's you can find it in various places. It's very expensive right now. It's like $75 a copy. I actually have a couple of them. I usually have one on eBay, and if I sell it on there, I'm not looking to rip people off. I put it on there at a reasonable price, much less than much less than $75. That's for sure. There's pages on diseases and treatment. This is a good book. One of the better ones, and he was even raising females like that. Sorry about the glare. Nice stuff. He did put out a second book that was more for beginners. Was Animal Planet Aquarium Care of Fancy Guppies, and you'll notice that picture was in the Proper Care of Guppies book. And this is more of a basic thing. It's still by Stan Shubin. I don't know how much he really had to do with it, because it's very limited. It doesn't seem like something he would have written. And this book is not that old. It's actually from 2006. That's some of his half-black reds. It's good stuff though. It's still worth getting, and it's not an expensive book. You can find this for $10 or less. So good book. Another one that's really good. I actually have 2 copies of them because I'm probably a little bit nuts. How to Raise Show Guppies by Lew Wasserman. And Lew was a fantastic breeder out of, I believe, New York or North Jersey. I have 2 of them because this one's got all kinds of printing of Tropical Fish Hobbyist books on the inside, and this one had nothing. So I just kind of held on to both of them. But the fish pictures won't be as good, but the information in here is still invaluable, even though this is from, I think this book's from 1977. Yep. And you can see the fish room is a little bit different. And you can also see this was his feeding schedule. So that's pretty incredible. I don't know anybody that can feed the fish every hour, hour and a half, even if you're retired. But you can see some common things in there, like live brine shrimp, but I'm sure he fed live baby brine shrimp. And interesting stuff. So this is a good book. I would recommend this one as well if you can find it. It's out of print. It's a little harder to find. Might take some digging to find one But good book, not a bad investment. This one is by another guy who was actually the more or less one of the legendary breeders, Paul Hanel, who was either from North Jersey or New York, I forget which. All About Guppies, co-written by somebody else, last name of Whitney, first name of Leon. And this book is pretty old. This is from, I have no idea when. It's probably on there somewhere. No, I don't know when it's from. Wait a minute. 1964. I think the Beatles were around then. So, I gotta show you one more thing. This, sorry for, check this out. Lew Wasserman might have the coolest shirt in history. How about that? And you can see the trophies were a lot larger and back then. Cool stuff. So anyway, back to this one. I really can't stay on one topic half the time. But there's good information in it. You're not going to base a breeding program on what's in here. The photos are obviously not of newer looking fish. It's, this book is 40 some years old. 36 years old? Yeah, more than that. 46, I guess. And it's a decent book. For a completist, you get stuff like that. There's some drawings, the old kind of fish books you'd see of various types of tails and stuff in guppies. And another excellent book, one of the other ones I really highly recommend, is Guppies, Fancy Strains, and How to Produce Them by famous Japanese breeder Nabarro Iwasaki. This one, thankfully, is in English. It's not blank. And this book is excellent. It's not expensive. You can find this for probably about $15 or less. It's a very large book, and there's a lot of information about crosses, how to breed, a lot of pictures of different types. This book is excellent, and you'll see some pictures of some of the Asian strains that really weren't around much. Oh, yeah, same photo. See if I can find it again. There we go. Boy, that looks familiar. How do you like that? Plagiarism. Nah. Good stuff in here, though. One of these books had some pictures of fish that were close to the tiger snakeskins. That's pretty cool looking. And that's pretty amazing. Yeah, there's good stuff in here. It's a good book. Another one I think he did was Guppy base book. I'm pretty sure this was by him. A friend of mine had gone to Japan about 10 years ago and picked me up a couple of Guppy books. Some good information in here, except I can't read it. I can read Pearl. I can read Genetics of Guppy. That is it. That's the end of what I can read. So I don't plan on learning Japanese. It's just not going to happen. This is pretty close to the tiger snakeskin line that is getting pretty popular right now. That's pretty darn close. So it's interesting. So I mean, the books you can't read are still a little bit useful for the pictures, and once in a while you'll pick up a couple of words. But this is cool. And I think he also got me another one. Let's see. I don't know what this says. It's a smaller book, but it has some cool pictures in it and a lot of Japanese writing. So interesting stuff. Now the fish are kind of some of it'll be interesting because you'll see some their setups and how they do things, and you'll notice some fish that you see modern day, red lace snakeskins, the albino versions. I don't know what that is. Besides a lot of glare. Cool stuff. I don't really know. That's a cool guppy. And I also really love Phillip Shaddix books. Now I probably annoyed the crap out of him back in the old days when he had these books out, because I asked for a paper copy, which probably cost him money to make. But I use this for the explanation of genetics. It has some great pictures, some really fantastic information in here. If you can find this book, you can probably find it on Kindle. which I guess is Amazon. But he covered pretty much everything. Really fantastic. He did his own research, and I really enjoy this. I have it kind of saved to stuff about the black Moscows and various other things with Moscows. This is a great book. And another one of his I bought was the Color Series, which I think wasn't really even out for very long. I guess he did it himself with this kind of a binding. That's my original receipt. And this is interesting if you like Guppy nut like me, and some cool pictures in there. This is pretty close to the line I had of what I called a Tiger Moscow, and I don't know what he was calling it, but it definitely popped out of the Moscow line. Mine looked a little different, but close to that. And he did a lot of you notice in here photos. These are actually high magnifications of the fish's color cells. It's pretty cool stuff, and I don't think you can find this book anywhere at this point. It's not. There's a lot of information that's hard to figure out, but I love it, and I'm glad I bought it. So the other thing, if you can find them, is old. This is a brand new issue, but old tropical fish hobbyist magazines. They used to have a monthly. Well, it used to be monthly. Now it's every other month. And now it's a little bit more towards everything, but they used to have a running monthly column by Paul Hanel, Guppy Corner, and that was kind of interesting. So you can find them. I think the 60s, 70s, a little bit in the 80s maybe. This book is just, I bought it just because it's about guppies. Wilfred Wittern on guppies. There's not too much information that you're going to get out of it. In fact, if I can keep the page open, this is what used to be a half black AOC. The half black AOCs these days are just light years ahead of this. In fact, if you ever go to an IFGA show, the best ones you'll ever see are usually by the guy in Florida, Stephen Quartler. He's got the best half black AOCs you'll ever see in your life. And these are oddly purple lace snakeskins. Not a real good tail, not a bad pattern, really crappy dorsal. But it's interesting what fish were around, because this book is pretty old. This is from 1980. So interesting. And I also had gotten this one. A friend of mine got me another larger book called The Beauty of Fancy Guppy. It's another one that doesn't have a lot of English, but it's got some really cool pictures of their setups. Some great pictures of fish. This really isn't a good half black pastel. There's too much yellow in the base of the caudal. I don't know what that is. That's kind of cool looking. But there's some really cool pictures in here. It's a double sword, but it's not really a good one, IFGA wise. If you ever get to a show and you see double swords by, usually the people that enter them, Alan Baez usually enters swords. His are just light years ahead of those. And it's some kind of a metalhead. And I guess that's metalhead in Japanese. But interesting book. And like I said, I bought it because I have all kinds of books. So I tend to waste my money on a lot of stuff. Usually the Guppy stuff isn't so bad. Like I bought this really, like, might be the world's coolest mug. Venom. It's a Marvel Comics thing. But then I turned it to the side after I saw it. And I am never going to drink out of this mug. It's cool looking, but I'm just really going to actually look at this side and never look at the other side. But anyway, another excellent book. Really excellent book. Brian Chen did Breeding Show Guppies. This book is excellent. Another one I really highly recommend, behind the Shubin and the Iwasaki book. Brian's an unbelievable photographer. I'm sure he took all the pictures in the book, unless he used somebody else's with permission. Brian raises some of the nicest multis you'll ever see. Really fantastic book. I love this book. And it's not glossy paper like Proper Care of Guppies, but The information is incredible, and the fish pictures are great. This is a brand new book. This is from 2016. So, really nice fish. This is fantastic. And he just came out with a second book, Genetics for Guppies. I started reading it. I haven't gotten too far yet because I'm mostly working on fish tanks. Has some great pictures in it. Interesting looking fish. These are obviously a lot of crosses that were done. I'll try to get to reading it so I can maybe do another video on it. And improving the size, a fantastic idea, explanation. His experience with the multis that he raised. So this is a great book. Another one is, it's not cheap, but it's a good one. So once again, it's Genetics for Guppies. And this one is probably the oldest Guppy book by Albert J Klee. And it's not the original book. I don't even know if that's around anymore. This is a copy somebody made. And as you know, it's obviously nothing I'm going to resell because that would be illegal. But the information isn't going to do much good. Pictures aren't the greatest, but historically it's just quite cool. So I like this book as a historical thing. And I think this might be the last one. It's in German. I don't speak German. I should, with all the episodes of Hogan's Heroes I watched in my formative years. And another blank page. Now some of this you can figure out on your own. So I don't think this means die Guppy Yarten. Doesn't mean die. I'm sure of that. Probably means the. So these are probably endlers. I'm sure they're endlers. Cool stuff. Das Guppy Aquarium could mean the Guppy Aquarium. Heisung, I'm probably saying wrong. That sounded Japanese. It's the heaters. I'm guessing filters. Filter wrong. I'm really not going to give you a guess on Bet Flanzug. I don't know what that is. That's another one. Beluga Takawaka. I think's the official pronunciation. It sounded like Klingon. Wasserwörter. Probably has something to do with water. Einstein Nacken Dimmen Kluf. I don't know what that means. It's getting ridiculous. Virgil Schlaftung. There's probably no L in that. Actually sounds like a U2 song. Achtung Baby. So anyway, it's getting ridiculous. I'll end the video. I've annoyed you enough with stuff, but yeah, it's always good to try to get some Guppy books. You can find them online. It's constant search. I waste my money on various things. Besides the cool mug, this is my actual car, which is pretty cool. That they have a Nismo Z. Very cool. It's my actual real car, except the one I drive in is much bigger. Very cool. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Sorry about the nonsense. What do you call a vegan with diarrhea? A smoothie maker.